You've always wanted to invest and take advantage of the power of compounding to grow your wealth, but you find investing daunting and even sometimes mysterious. In this episode, I'm going to break down investing so you finally understand it. I'm so excited. Let's go. Welcome to the Immigrant to Millionaire podcast. This is where we study what the wealthiest and most successful people do. Why? Well, because success leaves clues. Not only do we study these successful people, we implement what we learn so that we create the life we want and deserve. My name is Joy Roland, your host. I'm an immigrant that implemented the knowledge I learned from great men and women and became a millionaire in 3 years of arriving in Canada. It's now my mission to share my knowledge with as many people as possible. Pour yourself a cup of coffee or tea. This is going to be fun. Hello. Welcome. Welcome to episode 14 of the Immigrant to Millionaire podcast. I'm so excited for this week. It was Thanksgiving yesterday, and even though I live in Canada, I have lots of friends in the US, so it felt like I was celebrating Thanksgiving myself. So I want to tell you about someone I met. So this guy has been asking me to help him do what I do, like teach him to invest and make money and be wealthy. Um, but I've been busy, right? But he's always like texting me, and I'm like, okay, I'll let you know when I'm available. Because he's a friend of one of my best friends, he invited my daughter to his son's birthday. So we go for the birthday. I took my daughter. It was at his house. He has a massive house, like so big and so beautiful. So we go in, and I see in his driveway he has two cars, obviously one for his wife and one for himself. His own car is a brand new Lexus, 2024. Yes, even though we're just at the tail end of 2023. So when we had like a moment together, I pulled him aside and I said, well, you seem to be doing so well for yourself. Why do you need my help? You have a lovely home, you have two lovely cars on your driveway. And what he said next shook me to my bones. He said, the house is rented. My assumption was the house was his, right? His house is rented, and the cars on the driveway or they have car notes on them. So they don't own those cars. I'm like, wow, how can you plan to build wealth and you rent a big house and you buy the newest cars? Obviously, he doesn't own the cars, but I just couldn't wrap my head around it, right? And I think it's because people want to live up to other people's expectations, right? He has two children. What do you need a five-bedroom house for, right? I believe a three-bedroom house would be perfect for them, right? Um, and he could buy older cars, buy them outright instead of having to pay huge amount of interest on brand new cars. So, my friend, I just thought about this and I'm like, I need to share it with my audience because if you're really interested in building wealth, you have to be smart with how you spend money. I remember when I first came, I lived in a basement, right? There's no shame in that. As you build your wealth, you have to start from where you are. You shouldn't put yourself in such a bind that you're struggling financially just because you want to portray the fact that you've arrived, like you have money, and in actual fact, you don't have money. Okay. So that's enough for an intro. So let's dive into today's topic. Today, I want to tell you everything about investing. So, everything you need to know in order to invest profitably. Now, before we dive in, I want to read a review left by Chrissy09. Chrissy titled her review Empowering and Uplifting. And she writes, as an immigrant living in Canada, this podcast is so empowering to me. I believe Joy's testimony will help so many immigrants who may be caught up in the belief that they cannot overcome the obstacles they face. Joy tells us the steps she had to take and how she had to change her mindset to become the woman that she is today. I love how open and authentic she is, and I love that she's willing to help others as well. God bless you always. Thank you so much, Chrissy. I truly appreciate you taking the time from your very busy day to leave me this review. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you have not left me a review yet, please head on over to Apple Podcast and write me a review. Every week, I will feature one review so I can personally thank you. Okay, so let's dive into today's topic. Now, investing is one of the pillars in my blueprint. So I have a wealth blueprint that has 5 pillars, and one of the pillars is investing. Now, many people find investing so daunting. This is because there are lots of jargons being thrown out there by finance professionals, banks, financial institutions. And I think many of them actually go out of their way to make things more complex or more complicated than they actually need to be. And the reason they do this, I think, is because when they make things so complex, you're just going to give up and say, well, I'm confused, just help me. And you just throw your money to the banks and you buy mutual funds, not knowing that the management fees you pay on those mutual funds will eat up any profits you make in your investments. Now, there are mutual funds being sold by banks that results in hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees if you hold them for many years as your retirement plan, right? So imagine if you avoided all of those high fees and put back those high fees into your retirement plan. So $200,000 over the lifetime of an investment, I think, is too high an amount to pay for fees. So my goal is to help you become a profitable DIY investor so that you avoid all of those fees and you can use it to build your wealth instead. Now, my style of investing is passive, so you don't have to spend hours looking at charts on your computer or trying to beat the market. That's why I created the Millionaire Academy. This is where I break down everything step by step and strip out all of the jargons. In the academy, you also get to watch me invest my own money. If you are ready to take control of your financial future and avoid thousands of dollars in management fees, then you need to join my academy. Another thing I'll teach you is how to use all of the tax shelters to reduce the amount of taxes you pay on your investments. Yes, because when you invest, there's something called capital gains tax. If you don't put your investments in tax shelters, you're going to be shelling out a lot of money to the tax man, which kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because we want to build wealth and to build a security for us in the future. Now, if you're interested, book a 15-minute session with me and I'll give you all the details and then we can decide if it's a good fit for you or not. Now, every day you waste without being invested in the market is a day you lose that you lose taking advantage of the power of compound interest. Compound interest, someone has said, is the eighth wonder of the world. Yes. So if you are not taking advantage of compound interest, my friend, I really don't know what you're doing. And the beauty about this is you can start with as little as $100 per month. You can start building your wealth with as little as $100 per month, and you get to do this yourself. Now, the strategy I teach, once you set it up, you don't need to bother. Like you just let the market do its thing and let your money start making money for you. So once you set it up, I advise you check maximum 3 times per year. It's just to check how your investments are doing and to rebalance your portfolio. Okay, so in this episode, I'm gonna break it down for you so that you can go ahead and do this yourself. Okay, the first concept I want to explain is stocks. What are stocks? Stocks, also known as equities, are a security representing partial ownership of a publicly traded company. So when you buy stocks in a company, it means you own a part of that company. When that company makes a profit, you get paid part of that profit. Usually is in form of dividends. Now, a share is a unit of stock. The more shares you buy, the more stock you have in a company. Stocks are issued by companies to raise money to grow their business. Okay, so when you go and you buy a share of Apple, for example, you become, I don't want to say part owner of Apple, but you own a part of Apple. Okay, so who is a shareholder? A shareholder is someone or an entity, because a company can be a shareholder within a company. So a shareholder is someone or an entity that owns shares. Next concept I want to explain is the stock exchange. The stock exchange is a centralized location where different financial instruments are traded. So, for example, we have New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, and Toronto Stock Exchange here in Canada. What is the stock market? A very simple way to think about this is to consider a network of stock exchanges where traders and investors can buy and sell shares. So that's what a stock market is. Now, I mentioned dividends earlier, but what are dividends? Dividends are payments a company makes to share the profits they've made. Usually, it could be in a quarter or in a year. Typically, they do this on a regular basis so stakeholders can know when to anticipate payments. Dividends can be paid out in cash or reinvested. So, how I teach my students is to set it up automatically so that when you are paid dividends, it automatically gets reinvested back into the stocks. So, this is one of the ways you can actually leverage compound interest. Now, what's an index? An index can be used to track the performance of a group of assets in a standardized way. So, an index will measure the price performance of a basket of securities using a standardized methodology. So, some of the most popular ones are the S&P 500 in the US and the Dow Jones Industrial in the US as well. In the UK, we have the FTSE 100. So, in this group of companies, we have large companies like Apple, Tesla, Google, Microsoft, Amazon. All of them are in the top 500 companies in the US. So, why should you invest in the stock market? Well, the most obvious reason is to consider that there is inflation, right? So, you need to inflation proof your money, and one of the key ways to do that is to invest in the stock market because the stock market keeps rising, keeping track of inflation. Okay. Now, that's the first reason why you should consider investing in the stock market. In my academy, I teach you step by step everything I know so that you can invest confidently and profitably without wasting time analyzing charts and watching charts all day. Because my assumption is you have a job, you have a life, and you don't want to be stuck analyzing um, company stocks. Warren Buffett, I don't know if you know him, he's considered I'll say the grandfather, but the godfather of investing. He won $1 million in bets. He placed a bet, and his bet was this, that when you try to beat the index, it wouldn't work. So he put this publicly out there to say, Are there any hedge fund managers who want to take me up on this bet? This is $1 million. If I lose, you get my $1 million. If I win, you're going to pay me $1 million. And one hedge fund took him up on the bet. And over the course of 10 years, they compared the results of all these top Ivy League investment managers trying to invest people's monies compared to what they call couch potato investing, which is the type I teach. It's called passive investing. So investing in an index fund like the S&P 500, after 10 years, guess what? The hedge fund managers couldn't beat the index fund. And Warren Buffett actually won the bet. I'm going to leave a link to an article explaining the bet for those of you interested to read. All of that to explain to you that it isn't worth the time and effort trying to find the stock that will be the next Apple, right? Because it's, in my opinion, I feel it's gambling. There is no way for you to know 100% that a particular company is going to do well in the future, right? People just do guesses and just invest. But I believe that just investing in specific funds is the best way to invest your hard earned money. The next concept I want to explain is asset classes. An asset class is a group of investments that exhibit similar characteristics and are subject to the same laws and regulation. Asset classes are instruments that behave similarly over time in a specific marketplace. Now, I'm going to give you the key asset classes we have. The first one is cash. That's simple to understand, right? A cash bank account deposit is the simplest, most easily understandable investment asset, and usually is considered the safest. So, the cash in your wallet right now, the cash in your bank account, that's cash, right? But the thing about cash is you can hardly beat inflation if you leave your cash sitting in the bank. And interest rates as well that are offered by the banks in, for example, savings accounts are usually very, very low. The next asset class is what is called bonds. A bond, that's BOND. A bond is a debt instrument representing a loan made by an investor to a borrower. A typical bond will involve either a corporation or a government where a borrower will issue a fixed interest rate to the lender in exchange for using their capital. So imagine borrowing money to the US government. You can be fairly certain that you will get your money back. So bonds are typically considered safe because in the event a company goes bust, people who have bonds in that company will get paid first before shareholders. So, popular ones are bonds issued by the government. So, US government, UK government, Canadian government, these governments will issue bonds. And the only thing about bonds is that the interests are not great, right? They are way better than putting your money in a savings account, but then again, they are not that massive. The next asset class is mutual funds. A mutual fund is a type of investment where more than one investor pools their money together to purchase securities. Mutual funds are not necessarily passive as they are typically managed by portfolio managers. And these portfolio managers will allocate funds based on where they think um, the kind of stocks they think will do well. So imagine an Ivy League investment manager who manages a mutual fund. They'll sit in the office every day trying to find the best stock to invest client monies. Now, the disadvantage of mutual funds is that you have to pay those managers who manage those funds, right? And that is where it eats into your returns as an investor because whether you make money or not, you have to pay those management fees to those investors. Okay. So even though, for example, if you have a mutual fund, I want you to go to your bank and ask how much percentage is being charged to you every single year, whether you make money in the market or not. Typically, it's around 2% to 2.5%. Now, the next asset class I want to talk to you about is ETFs. Now, ETFs are similar to mutual funds, but they trade throughout the day. Mutual funds, one of the disadvantages of owning mutual funds is that you cannot trade anytime you want. You have to wait till the end of the day to liquidate your investments. ETFs, on the other hand, you can trade as often as you like throughout the day. I don't do that, but that's available to you to do if you wish. Now, ETFs stand for exchange traded funds. They track an underlying index such as the S&P 500 and other basket of stocks. So, what do you think is better? Investing in one company. So let's say you have $10,000 to invest. Do you think it's wise to buy stocks in one company with the entire $10,000, or do you think it's better to spread that across 500 companies? I hope you chose the latter, because spreading your $10,000 across 500 companies will give you diversification. So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Because if anything happens to one company, then that $10,000 you've invested is almost as good as gone. But when you spread your investment by buying an ETF that tracks the S&P 500, you are saying, okay, put my $10,000 across 500 companies in the US. Now, remember, these are the top 500 companies in the US. So that's Google, Amazon, Tesla, um, Apple, all of those top companies that in the S&P 500. You spread your investment across all of them. And you don't have to keep looking at charts. You don't have to keep tracking the markets. Just allow the market do its thing. Okay? So that's the beauty of investing in ETFs. Now, this is my preferred method because it's passive investing, and typically the management fees are very, very low. So compared to paying 2.5% in a mutual fund, for ETFs, you can pay as low as 0.05, right? So 0.05, like that's almost zero. Okay, so that's how you can radically build your wealth and increase your profits. And remember, you can start with as little as $100 per month. Okay, my friend, that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I'll see you in the next episode. So, my friend, if this podcast encouraged, inspired, or taught you something new, please do me a huge favor by leaving me a review. Just go to Apple Podcast, find the show, go to the main page where you see a list of all of the episodes, scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list, and write me a review. This will let me know that all of the hard work I've poured into making this podcast is worth something. I'd also love for you to share this with your friend who could use all of the free value I provide on this podcast. I'll be forever grateful. I believe in good karma, and I know that when you do good things will come back to you 10 times. And lastly, come on over to my Facebook community to get support as you build your empire. This is an exclusive group of high-achieving and ambitious people actively working on getting wealthy. Find the link to the group in the show notes, my friend. I hope to see you back here soon. God bless you.